Faith is the foundation of our life. But can we be saved by faith? That's one question. The order is from Kungshamns Church, where I have the summer house, and there the message will be given to you from my garden. Take part. Welcome to Pastor Lars, Sweden. I will continue to go through with you about faith. Can faith save you? Out of Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4, there we see the problem Habakkuk has met, and he was very, very doubtful how God really can save him and help him and forgive him. The prophet did not understand why God did not punish the lawless and the ungodly people in Jerusalem. The first chapter of his book finds him complaining to God, asking why did not interfere and punish the wicked of his own people. God's answer was that he would act at the appropriate time, and the prophet concluded that he had to wait until God decided that the time was right. The prophet Habakkuk could not force God's hand to punish the guilty ones. God decided when, and the reason why he waits is not always known. He is patient with us and our enemies. It is God's desire that everyone repents. That's what we can read in 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 9. It is God's patience and goodness that drives us to repent, and you can read that in Romans chapter 2 verse 4. In chapter 2 of Habakkuk writes that he will withdraw and go to his post and wait to see when God will interfere. We also do not always understand why God allows what he does, and why he doesn't interfere in a crisis when we think that he should do that. In verse 4, Habakkuk writes, "The just, someone who is cleansed and cleaned in God's eyes, shall live by faith." I repeat, the just shall live by faith. The prophet writes, by faith. In other words, a righteous person must be faithful and wait on God's intervention to fulfill his promise when the time is right. Nothing is impossible for God, but we can't force him to do anything. His will is agape, the outreaching love. He will do what is the best in long time run. We are God's servants, not the other way around, and we must be faithful to him, and he is faithful to us. Let's read and check Romans chapter 4. There Paul refers to Genesis chapter 15 and verse 6, where Abraham's relationship with God was based on faith and not his works. Abraham's faith was his works. Abraham was 75 years old when he arrived in the land of Canaan. Abraham walked with God. He believed God even When he was told that he and Sarah would have a child in their age of the old age. When Sarah heard this, she laughed, and that is why the angel told Abraham that the child's name would be Isaac, which means laughter. But Abraham believed God had promised on several occasions to bless Abraham's descendants, and Abraham believed this is his heart. Abraham believed even though Sarah had been barren all through their married life and was now an old woman, still Abraham believed. Abraham waited at least 25 years for God to fulfill his promise. In the opening verses of Genesis 15, Abraham questions why God has not fulfilled his promise. God then asked Abraham if he could count all of the stars in heaven that he had created. Abraham looked up into heaven and believed that God could do anything. Abraham believed, and God credited it to him as righteousness. We read that in Genesis 15 and 6. It wasn't until many years later that Sarah gave birth to a son and named him Isaac. God keeps his promise, but he does not say when he will do so. Believe in God can be challenging since you have to wait until the time is right for God to fulfill his promise. This is why faith is so important.